great mind for wrestling. He likes him. Said, we're definitely open to him. So that certainly was an answer that makes you think that he's coming in. He didn't quite say that. And he could say that now, but it's probably something where, he wants to build it up, in his own way, and probably didn't want to put him on. I mean, there's no point in putting Claudio on the show this week, because this show, the show tonight and the show on Friday night is all about building Sunday's pay-per-view. So why confuse the issue? But when you bring him in, I mean, you advertise for later. There's no point in saying it now, but it was certainly, I certainly got the impression that Claudio's coming in. Just the way he answered the question, but he did not outright say that he was.
All right, MJF.
Well, we're not done. He also talked about, he was asked about Trios Championships, which we have talked about many times on the show. And obviously from the first time it was talked about, which was well over a year ago, on the boat, as a matter of fact, when I believe it was Kenny Omega. It was Kenny Omega, right? You said on the boat?
I think it was Kenny.
Yeah, on the boat. So from that point, the idea of, they've got so many great tag teams, and you could add a third person to all of them and make a trio, and you only got one tag team champion with all these tag teams. So it made sense. I was surprised that they had started other championships before the trios, but, whatever, they did. But he pretty much said, we're going to have trios champions. But he said he does not want to do the tournament. He said, we got all these great trios that we can put together, but he does not want to do the tournament until Kenny Omega returns. So, that's a couple months away, but it's basically saying that there's going to be a tournament for the Trios Championship. They're going to have Trios champions, probably at a date, at a time later this year, probably not that many months away, but, maybe the finals will be at Double or Nothing. Maybe the finals will be at All Out. Maybe something else. I don't know, but pretty much confirmed that.
Now MJF.
Yeah, so MJF did an interview and said that in 2024 he was going to be the highest paid wrestler in the business because both sides would want him. And is basically saying that he's not a moves guy. He makes you feel passionate, feelings like the wrestlers of the past and things like that. So, it's a smart thing to say. You say it enough and, hopefully both sides will think that you're super valuable. Again, he's going to be free agent when he's 27 years old, 2 more years of this. A lot of guys are going to get older. He's not even in your wrestling primes usually. For a guy like him, his wrestling prime is going to probably be in his mid-30s, maybe later, because he's not, talking. He's probably going to get better, and his understanding of certain aspects of the game is probably going to get better, and his athleticism might not get better, but his main forte is not athleticism. Not that he's not a good athlete, but, and he can go in the ring. He is good, but his deal is his talking and his personality and things like that. So, good luck to him. I had this conversation with him at the Atlanta airport. Do you remember when we got lost at the Atlanta airport?
We were lost in the Atlanta airport?
You weren't there. You were there, but
I must have been lost.
No, you weren't with us.
So, I remember when you got lost. I do remember this now.
Yes. Me.
So you found MJF?
No, me, Max, and Sherry were talking, and we just kept walking, and everybody else, you and Paige and everybody else, went to where you were supposed to go.
I remember this now.
Yes, and this is in
after
fact
the cruise. Okay.
Yes, and in fact, this was the discussion that we had about what happens when his contract is up. Anyway, that's interesting. But yeah, of course, you go you keep your mind open and you go with the best offer, and like no decisions now because you don't know what the lay of the land is going to be in 2 years. And 2 years you'll have a better idea. You'll at least in 2 years you'll know the lay of the land, and also again 2024. Let's see, Tony's deal is up at the end of 2023. So in 2024, you will know what kind of a television contract his renewal was. And if it was a much bigger money renewal, then he has more money to sign talent with. And obviously, WWE is going nowhere, and WWE is going to have massive, massive profits in 2024, and will be looking to add new people because God knows they do a terrible job of making young stars, and he may be valuable as hell. I don't know if he's going to be the highest paid guy in the entire business, but barring injury, he probably will be among the highest paid guys in the business come 2024. He's not full of shit on that one.
All right, WWE signed a new deal with A&E. A whole bunch of specials coming.
Yeah, they're gonna was it like 35 bio? What are they gonna do? Like bios of Bobby Roode?
Yeah, we're gonna be
35, and it's not gonna be. It's gonna be over the next couple of years, but still, it's probably like 10 a year. It's like the most interesting guys for the most part we got, and some of those guys, I think most of the bios that they did were pretty interesting.
35 new biographies, 24 new episodes of Most Wanted Treasures.
Yeah, the treasure show's kind of mindless thing. I guess no AJ Francis though, right?
No, probably not.
Yeah, he was the host of the one of the key guys in the first year of the treasure show. But I don't know. The treasure show, like if I had nothing to do and it was on, it was kind of like entertaining, but it wasn't something I would go out of my way to see. The bios, were I watched I think all of them, and then there's going to be the new show, which is Rivals or Feuds or whatever. They're going to do a bunch of new episodes on like Austin McMahon, whatever famous WWE feuds, talking to the guys and going behind the scenes and the makeups of the feuds and things like that. So that could be I think WWE Network had kind of done some shows similar to that already. So, that's another thing. So they made another, I'm sure it's a good money television deal. They pulled out another one. So, yep.
We've got the ratings report.
So let me get through this thing. The numbers were down. Actually, NXT was actually up in 18 to 49s, mainly because they were up in males 35 to 49. But NXT did 551,000 viewers, which is actually one of the lowest numbers they've ever done on USA for viewers. But they did an 0.13, which is actually up a little bit from last week. 0.07 and 18 and 34 was not up. But it was against the State of the Union address. So it's like, believe me, everyone, and again, the same thing tonight, with whatever, AEW should pull a good number with the announcement, and it's the go home show and things like that. But if it's a low number, it's the news. And even if they do over 1 million viewers, or over a 0.40, it's still going to be much lower than they would have done normally. These news shows, it's a big, big difference. Last week you had no competition for on AEW. It was the weakest of the year. And this week, between the news shows and between the NBA being back, it is much, much tougher. So it's going to be tougher to draw, but so they may be down. But you know what? Up, down, whatever, honest to God, these are not numbers that I would take seriously as indicators of where, the strength of the company or anything like that. They're just numbers. Like if I was going to do comparisons, I would tell you, throw them out because it's like, you're not going to learn anything from them. I mean, like, yeah, Raw was down to 1,753,000 viewers, which, is not terrible, but down 0.47, which with no NFL is not a good number, but you know what I mean? It's like there was all that news competition. Now, the interesting thing for Raw is that the audience came like they had a big tune-in at 8:30. They did not have a big audience to start with. In fact, they started unbelievably low. Not unbelievably low, but unbelievably low. Put it this way, unbelievably low for this part of this season. And that's why the first hour was actually lower than the second hour. They did get a big tune-in at 8:30 for T-Bar and Omos, so it's not like it's, it was 8:30. It was not, anything else. And they got another big tune-in at 9, which was the Robert Roode Ciampa match. And again, it's the same thing, just people tuned in then. And so they didn't have the big drop in hour 3 because people tuned in late. In fact, the Edge and AJ Styles final segment did very well, all things considered. So, like even with again, so the third hour was good. People were interested in the Edge, the Edge angle anyway.
Oh boy.
Hold on.
All right, false alarm there, everybody. Any other ratings notes? Then we'll do the New Japan Cup.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty much it. Just, it was lower. Everything's probably going to be lower until the news doesn't take, 43 of the top 50 spots in the standings. Like NXT was in 70th place, and they had a higher 18 to 49 number than when they were in 35th place because of all those news shows. So again, like these are abnormal. This is an abnormal week when it comes to ratings for everyone. And I said, like, you can't look at this and go, oh, the numbers are down. The angles are bad. And it's like, you can't fight the news, and the news is really big, and that's going to be the case for everyone. And it's nothing to really worry about.
Right, New Japan Cup.
Yeah. So the first show was today at Budokan, and I have not watched the show, but I wanted to watch the Okada Desperado match because so many people raved about it as one of the best matches of the year. So I'm going to try to watch that tomorrow. But so the basic gist is Okada beat Desperado, which means that Okada advances and will face Master Wato next. Taichi beat, who was it? Toriano. And his next opponent was going to be Tenzan, who forfeited because he has a knee injury. So Taichi will be facing the winner of Okada and Wato, who will obviously be Okada. So Okada and Taichi is definitely happening, and it's going to be, in round 3. Then Yuji Nagata lost to Hiroki Goto. So Goto will face Dick Togo, and Goto's winning that one for sure. The next one was Shima beating Taka Michinoku, and Shima is going to be next be facing Yoshinobu Kanemaru. So that one I could see going either way, but favoring Shima against Goto, but I think Goto's going to go all the way, so I think that Goto goes against the Okada Taichi winner. And then we next had Hiroshi Tanahashi beat Yo, which I heard was a very good match. Tanahashi faces Bad Luck Fale next, and I think Fale might beat him. But if he doesn't, he's going to face Naito. Naito beat Yujiro. I heard that match sucked. Too much interference. Did not see it, but many, many people were very unhappy with the match, even though Naito won. Naito's facing Geto next. There's not a chance in hell Geto's beating Naito. I shouldn't say that because there's always a chance, but don't see it. So Naito's going to face either Tanahashi or Fale in round 3. Then Jeff Cobb beat Togi Makabe, as everyone knew he would. He's facing Kojima next, and he's beaten Kojima, so he's in round 3. Yoshihashi beat Tomo